So on our first day at the job, our goal is to get all of the pieces that we need cut and prepared. Once you start adding the adhesive and putting things in place, you don't want to be moving on the stairs up and down because it does take about 24 hours to fully set. So we need to be taking our measurements, doing our cuts, getting everything laid out and ready to go. You will notice here that we are taking the measurements of each step. We cannot assume that staircases are going to be the exact same, especially staircases that have been in homes for a little while. And so you want to make sure that you are measuring and cutting each stair nosing. As I mentioned, we are using a sliding miter saw here to go about and use those measurements to make our cuts. These are the vinyl nosings that we have prepared here at Step Up Vinyl. We make them out of the vinyl plank flooring that the customer provides so that it is an exact match because it's made out of the same material. We always make these nosings a little longer than is needed because it is really important that this final cut be made on site on the property because, as I mentioned, you're going to have slightly different lengths for each of the steps. So we're going to go ahead, make our first cut. Yes, we're coming in and out as we do this. Okay, again, this is why it's really important that we are doing this dry fit. If you make one cut and it's slightly too long or slightly too narrow, I do suggest trying it on another step. If you're doing this yourself, it may not be so exact each time, but you can just be setting them into place as you can see here and working your way along to get the ones that are needed. So measure, cut, bring it in, dry fit it, and then repeat the process again. We're now going to work on these top ones here, again, following that exact same process as we go. Some staircases do have an angle to them, which would complicate this process even a little bit more. But we generally suggest focusing on that front part. You can see that measurement is being taken up near the front of the nosing, as that is what that nosing is going to be looking at. Notice at the bottom as well that we are only at this point setting the nosings into place. We're getting those all lined up and we're actually marking them with a number so that we're going to be able to remember them. We are going to be removing them and putting them back on a few times. So those numbers are going to help us keep track. If you use pencil, it's going to be really easy to remove that after the fact. Some people prefer to use, a painter's tape or something like that. But you'll be able to do that. In this case, again, done it a few times so we can do a few of those cuts. But if you're first starting out, you really want to make sure you're doing it one off, getting all those cuts to that exact length that you're going to need. And then again, we're going to get those dry fit into place. Again, you're going to want as tight a fit as will slide into place. It does need to be slid in. And, in our case here, we were able to get it all. But again, that suggestion, if one doesn't feel quite right, you can always move it up to another step as you're doing that dry fit process to make sure everything is what you need. All right, getting those labeled there so that we are ready to go. And then we're going to be focusing on the transition